Hi, thanks for joining us today. I'm Scott Olsen with the Olsen Group, joined by Martin Nissler with Mercuri Urval. And am I saying that right?
Yeah, you're doing a good attempt to do it. Mercuri Urval is a Swedish pronunciation of my firm. Mercuri is Mercury as a star, and Urval is selection in Swedish. And it's a Swedish privately held company founded back in the 60s. So that's Mercuri Urval.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you very much. Well, thanks again for joining us today. Today our focus is on leadership. And I wanted to invite Martin to share his thoughts and answer some questions regarding this. He has a fantastic background, and I think you'll find some very insightful and interesting things he'll have to share with us today. So thanks again.
And thanks for having me, Scott.
Martin, I'm fascinated by the fact that you spent time in the Swedish Army. And I'd love to get your perspective on what did you learn about leadership during that time, and how does that transcend into the world of business?
There are very many similarities between that environment and the business environment. First of all, as an officer, you have an advantage that you create a knowledge that people didn't have when they came in. So people are very open to learn. And you are doing that in a very regimented way often, and that there's no difference there between Swedish Army and the US Army. And you get a chance to gradually grow the concept for the people that you are training. So, and that is something that I think the business world, I wouldn't say lack, but it's not as easy for them to have this kind of from the start training, because you have to take the capabilities that enter the company and do what you can do and lean on their experience. So it's a tremendous difference. But there are several learnings, especially as a leader, that I think I've been able to utilize in the business world. And that's, first of all, how important it is to set clear objectives. And spend time discussing with people the importance of the aim. What is the aim with the objective? What is the purpose of the direction I'm trying us to be aligned in? And the amount of time it takes for me to make sure that people understood that direction. And then it's all about trusting that they have understood that and they're doing their best to achieve the targets.
Martin, how would you describe what you do for your clients?
Mercuri Urval is supporting organizations in becoming much more strategic when it comes to their people capabilities. We help organizations answer 4 key questions. The first one is, what capabilities do you need? The second one is, what capabilities do you have? Third one is, what capabilities can you develop? And the last one is, what capabilities do you need to acquire? So by addressing those 4 key questions, we get a sense on what the companies and our clients' point of departure is and where they're heading tomorrow. Then we have a series of products and services underneath each question, if you'd like, that we of course need to tailor up against that very specific environment and business culture that is already in place. And that's the start of a cooperation for us.
What motivated you to do what you do today?
Well, first of all, I had no plan leaving the military at all. I had no thoughts about that. I loved it. It was a very interesting and encouraging time for me. I heard about Mercuri Urval through some friends.
Well, you were in the Army.
Yeah, and I've just become a major, and they spoke warmly about it. And I went into a recruitment loop and started to understand their business logic, our business logics, when it comes to that the right people make great things happen, or the right people make great results happen. And it sort of made a whole lot of sense to me. So I left and I entered it without really knowing what to expect or how I actually would achieve there. After 10, 12 years in one organization, you get very familiar to it. You know your limits, you know your strengths, and I had a very good progress in the military, and I did sort of not know if I could adapt that to the other context or not. But I think I trusted our own selection process, because they said that they believed that I can do it. And 6 years later, I'm happy I took that step. But this has been extremely rewarding to try to utilize things that you learned before, but in another context.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still learning very much, very much.
Now, it's one thing to identify, well, it's one challenge to identify who's the best person for this role and help develop them. What about the other side of that, helping an individual identify what role is best for them? Is there a place where you can help people with that as well?
It is, and it's an excellent question, and I think organizations in general can spend more time with it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, personal development is personal development.
Mm-hmm.
It must come from you and I, and our will to grow in some direction. It must be the individual's responsibility to be clear for ourselves, what is that direction, and what am I prepared to do to get there? Then I turn around to the organization and ask, hey, can I get support for my direction or not?
Mm-hmm. And does it align?
And does it align? And is the timing right for those things? That very much mirrors then the support individuals and key stakeholders in the organization can get from HR departments and so on, like courses, training, coaching, and so on. However, it's the dialogue between me as that individual and my manager and his will to make me develop, pave the way for me to develop. Mm-hmm. It's there that the magic happens, because he can sort of kind of coach and promote my development, but I need to be responsible for it.
Can you get a sense going into an organization where they're doing that, and when they're not doing that, and what the signs are of doing that versus not doing that?
Clear indicators is that companies are losing people they don't want to lose. Mm-hmm. The on-par performers or the high achievers. Mm-hmm. That they feel that there is a roof, a ceiling of their development, and that there is not a plan or a strategic system in the organization that helps them get to where they want to be. That's the most clearest sign that you must start to stop and think, how are we looking at these things from a strategic point of view? And what it's about is, by the end of everything, it's business results. It's how the customer perceives that great guy left the company. It's how they perceive them, the company's persistency and with all the relationships that they build up together. That is often the enabler for doing business at all, right? Mm-hmm. So strategic HR or talent management or succession planning, all of those buzzwords we hear everyone talking about today and have done for some while is very much business results. It's not the HR department's responsibility. It's a organization's responsibility to find a level that they think is good for them and then execute that plan.